So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Brian Harris. I'm from Montana in the United States, and what I do is sales, motivation, kind of theory thinking, but my background is I have sales experience for 5 years, and over here I'm kind of doing a podcast, so if you see me look this way, it's just checking on the recording, so don't mind it. But then I got the recording over here, but anyway, so again, my name is Brian Harris, and what I do is sales, and my background in sales is a little unconventional. I didn't actually go to college. I dropped out of high school, and when I got started in sales, it was doing hoodies and t-shirts out of a mall. And I have a couple books that I wrote on, my story, and they're actually posted for free on my website if you go and check that out. It's salesgeniuscoaching.com. Again, that's salesgeniuscoaching.com. Put that in your Safari, click search. Right when you get to the landing page, you'll see the 2 books right there. Go ahead and click it, download them, PDF files. If you want the physical copies, you could just buy them there too. But anyway, and so basically what I did there was sell hoodies and t-shirts. People were walking by, and they either had interest or they didn't have interest, and you wave them down, or you get a way to stop them, and then you sell them. And you have the upsell of additional hoodies and t-shirts. Buy a hoodie, get a t-shirt for a percentage off. You have like add-on designs, customization, and then you have bulk orders. So you're dealing with people, but you're also dealing with businesses. So I got into that about 17. From a young age, I got into sales. And so I think that's why I need to do these type of podcasts and bring that experience to the table for everyone to learn from, and to people have this crazy success. Because at 18 years old, I was already making 100K plus salary. And that may not seem like a lot, but at 18 years old, when you have 100K plus salary from a sales job, it changes your life. When you go from making only $2,000 a month or $4,000 a month, and now you're making $10,000 a month, you're making $8,000 a month. That can change your life, and it allows you to influence other people's lives as well, just by living through your life. And so the pursuit of sales for me wasn't so much about money, but more so about the experience of being able to learn it myself and then teach others who are also in poverty to get themselves out. So that's the reason I do sales. The reason you do sales could be entirely different, and that's okay. The reason why we're here in this podcast, in this recording, is to motivate you to get more sales, to motivate you when you have hard times to get out after it, and to tell you about my own experiences so that I can teach and learn from myself too. So after the kiosk, what I did is I went to AT&T. AT&T, I did that for about two and a half years, and during those 2 years, I went and became sales manager of the year, became sales rep of the year, and led a team, or actually about 3 different teams, from a smaller store up to a bigger store, until I decided that this might not be for me. The path for the career growth, this wasn't what I really wanted. You drive around a lot, like to a bunch of other stores. You don't really see your family, and I don't know. When I got into it, I didn't really think about it, and so that led me to what I do now, which is remote high-ticket sales. And what I'm noticing, the difference between that, a job like that where you go and clock in, and it still sells, so you still have to have that motivation component and the accountability component. But in high-ticket sales, because it's at home and remote, you have another level of accountability to yourself, another accountability to the work, another accountability to getting the knowledge, not just knowing it, but making sure you can apply that, just like in a real sales job. The only difference is you have a new enemy, and that enemy is your camera. The enemy is your environment, your own environment, rather than your sales team, the sales floor, because it's all you. And if you run a high-ticket sales team, which I haven't yet, I've only ran B2C sales teams, telecom sales teams, stuff like that. That's all I've ran. So I don't know what it is to run a high ticket sales team, but I know how it is to make a couple $100 grand a year. And that isn't too hard. Once you get the skills down, it's not too hard. Okay, so let's see. All right. So a huge thing that a lot of people talk about is sales motivation. When people tend to give up, how do I keep my team motivated? How do I keep them going? How do I keep myself going after, you know, a hard call, hard thought, or say you're just not feeling motivated? And in sales, you deal with that all the time. And as people, what we're used to looking for is called external motivation. External motivation is when you look for things outside of yourself. For instance, like when someone compliments you, that's more of external motivation because it gives you confidence. It gives you for some people it doesn't work when people compliment them, but for me, when people talk about like my successes, when people compliment about what I'm doing, it gives me this drive to want to go further and do more of that. And I'm sure if a lot of people are that's external motivation. Whereas an internal motivation is what salespeople really need. And that's what you need to build in your salespeople or inside of yourself. Internal motivation is deeper values, skill sets, goals, things that are not very seen externally, but you can feel it on the inside emotionally. You know when you've arrived somewhere. Based on where you started and where you're at, you know when you arrived. And even if you don't feel like you arrived, you feel like there's some part of the journey that you've accomplished. And as long as you start that journey and you keep going on that journey, that's internal motivation in itself. Knowing that you're on a journey and continuing that journey. You have to keep doing that because being internally motivated will always carry you further and a lot longer than external motivation. Another example of external motivation would be marijuana or alcohol. When people use those things, and marijuana, if you use it medically, I don't care, but I don't even care if you drink. It's just in a sales perspective, right? We're here for sales. So in a sales perspective, when you use alcohol to motivate yourself, or you use marijuana to motivate yourself to want to get more, to do more, what that is telling your brain every time you do that is you need this to be motivated. And alcohol, for one, costs money. Marijuana costs money. If you make a lot of money, I mean, more power to you. But over time, you become alcoholic. You get fat. You got all the extra carbs. You start to feel ugly, depression, which a lot of salespeople do. They use alcohol or drugs as external motivation. And look, they go to rehab, they quit sales entirely, or they blame money for all their problems. But in reality, it was your internal motivation that was off. And so your external motivation was off. Whereas if your internal motivation was right, then your external motivations would also be right. And you're always going to feel the urge to want to do those things. But as salespeople, you also have the responsibility and the leadership accountability to not. Because that's how you get guaranteed and long-lasting success, is to not do those things. So, how do you take away time when you're thinking about drinking or smoking or doing drugs or doing something negative? How do you replace that? Well, think about the time when you're doing that, right? When you're taking out the time to party, you're planning things with friends, you're wanting to go out. Well, think about if you did that, say you do that every weekend. Well, get that down to where you're only doing it for 3 weekends, and then do it for 2 weekends, and then 1 weekend, and where you're not doing it at all. Because when you're taking out extra time to work on your craft, to study your skill, or even for self-care, working out, going on nature, going on hikes, traveling, visiting the world, like doing things like that is what grows you as a salesperson. Not drinking, not partying, not smoking, Not sitting around with your friends all day, not doing anything like that doesn't grow you as a salesperson. You gotta get out, you gotta do things, you gotta see people, meet people, have new experiences, because that's what grows you as a person. And we have to remember, before we're salespeople, we're people, we're human. And so to hack the thinking and your emotions first, and to get that on point, is to become a better salesperson 100 times than just studying sales. And that's the truth of it. That's the hard truth of sales that a lot of people don't talk about. It's not mainstream media, but I want to make that mainstream, is that working on yourself, working on the inner things. And a lot of people probably get flack for this, but I also want to say to those people, are you overweight? Are you depressed? Do you have financial goals? Do you have status? Are you influential? Do you have the ability to help more people if you really wanted to? If your kid was dying or if your parent was dying, would you have the money or the ability to help them? Because I know I would. And so you need to look inside of yourself and have that deep conversation. And be honest with yourself. And ask yourself, is the path that I'm on the path that I want to stay on? And is the actions that I'm doing, where will it lead me? And when you have that honest conversation with yourself, you connect with yourself in a different way. And all of this is just getting your cells to a higher level. When you connect with yourself on a deeper level, you connect with everyone else on a deeper level, because they don't see bullshit. When you use sales tactics, you use techniques that you learn, that's bullshit, and people see it. But when you come with that, you're it, because you did the inner work. People don't see bullshit, that's real. And that's what you need. In this world, there's a lot of bullshit. So keep it real. And do the inner work first. Then focus on your techniques. Then focus on your cells like barriers. Because more than likely there's something just holding you back inside of yourself. And all the people out there that teach sales techniques are probably like, but this ain't it. This inner work shit, that's not what got me millions. And that's probably what they're gonna say, but I'm telling you, do the inner work, and it's not millions, it's billions, even trillions. They got millions. Inner work gives you billions and trillions. And then for the last thing is, how do I sharpen my sales skills? So a lot of people, they wanna, when they do the inner work, they get to doing that daily, and you don't focus on it too long, but then you ask yourself, how do I do the physical skills, the external skills, the things that actually, make the money, right? Because the inner work, that's good. Now you feel good. Now your mind's right. Now you got to do the external work. And the external work is your sales skills, right? Reading sales books, reading business books, reading books that study emotion, reading books that study leadership, reading books that study economics and sociology, doing things like that and getting a perspective of the world, getting a perspective from someone else's view, or from a higher point of view, someone who's done it better, did it before you. Reading those books, watching those podcasts, getting on YouTube, those things are what they build your knowledge of the world. They build your knowledge of what works and what doesn't work. And something that I've learned that was hard for me to accept as an entrepreneur and as a salesperson was that as humans and as people, we tend to like what we believe works. But the truth is that what stays is what actually works. And when we pay attention to that, and we lean into that of what actually works versus what we like to work, then that puts you on another level, and that opens your thinking to other possibilities, not just your own, of what you believe is right, but what others have seen and proven is right. And so using books, podcasts, YouTube, free sources of material That can be very beneficial when you're just starting out, when you have no money, you don't have a lot to invest. Using YouTube and stuff like that, that's all my best friend. Goodwill, all that, you find all the good books there for dollars on the low. And one book can change your entire life. So finding those in the beginning, I think, is a good catalog to refer to. And then once you have a little bit of money, taking that little bit of money and putting it into real education, meaning Coursera, like online classes, where it's like $50 a month, $100 a month, putting that money into it, you get a higher level of study. You get better material, you get better videos, you get better instructors. So you put money into that, get those certificates that shows that you did the work, that proves you did the work, not just for yourself, but to others too. You take that and you keep going. After that, there's even classes and podcasts and people that, you know, the Black Swan group, Andy Elliott's group, Brad Lee's group, Grant Cardone's group, all the masterminds, right? All those mastermind groups, 7th level, getting into those, paying the premium to be in those with people that are also on the same path and kind of on the same level as you at that point. Paying into those higher groups is the next level of education and the next level to break that next commission. A lot of people want to call bullshit, but I'm saying that when you go from zero and you take this path, you can have no dollars today, $0 in the bank right now. And by taking those YouTube, going to Goodwill, doing all that stuff, by the end of the year, you can be making 100K plus. That's just the fact of it. And that's because when you begin to focus on something and you begin to study it and you start to really believe in it, you do that every day, there's no outside of that. Like, there's no failing. And so you have to get this belief and conviction inside of yourself just from doing it every day, that there is no failure. And that's just by doing the external work. So now you're in those groups, right? And you're in those groups, you have the books, and you're doing the inner work. Now the last key, and this is the hardest part of all of it, is consistency. The consistency to keep going. Because a lot of people give up once they see success. When you get your first million, your first 5 million, your first 200,000, your first 10,000, your first 50,000. That isn't a reason to stop. It's a reason to keep going and to even get further in your goals and accomplishments. Your goals aren't goals to win. They're just benchmarks for the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to help everyone else and to bring everyone else out of poverty if they want to. And to do that, we document our journey. We try things, what works and what doesn't work, and then we pass knowledge on like I'm doing to you now. And I believe if we do that, you know, the world in the end will be a better place. And if it isn't, then. But in my life, I think it's changed for the better because of these. And so I think that anyone, whether you're starting with $0, $100, $10,000, or $50,000, I think these type of principles, whether it's the inner work, the external work, I think all of that is what people need. So that's all I got for you guys today. I'm gonna try to do these at least once a week. Probably get some better material for you next week. But hope you liked it. Y'all stay hustling. See ya.